Hello, welcome to the information session for the Master of Communications and Media Studies program. Let me introduce myself. I'm Dr. Tan Ming Yeo, and I'm the course coordinator for the program. I'm going to take you through a couple of things. What's the program about? Why is it important? Who is it for? And what's in the program? It's going to be quite brief, but at the end of it, you should have enough information to get you thinking about whether this is a suitable program for you or not. And I hope that it is. So what is MCMS? In brief, it's a program that aims to further students' understanding of communications and media systems, both locally and globally. Now that sounds pretty nice, but what exactly does that mean? Well, it helps that if we firstly understand why media and communications is important. Communications is an everyday activity that we engage in on a personal, professional, and institutional level. We don't even realize that we're doing it most of the time, yet it has an important bearing on the success of any venture that we embark on in life. And related to that, of course, is media engagement. And by media engagement, I'm not necessarily talking about how well you write your social media posts or how nice your Instagram pictures are, but it's about managing media and communications. How do you manage content? How do you manage your employees' content? How do you manage your corporate presentation on different media platforms? How do you think through your different audiences and whether your messaging is effective or not effective? How do you think about other industries in relation to yours? and uh, and build new links through the media. So managing the media and communication is an underrated skill. Sometimes even internally, it's not just about engaging the world outside, it's also internally. How do you engage your own company? How do you engage the people who work under you? How do you engage the people who work above you? All of this has an impact on reputation, loyalty, employee retention, and commercial value. Now, of course, these are things that we actually do all the time if you're working or even if you're still a student, but we don't recognize that it underpins the success of a lot of what we do. Which brings me to my next point. Very often people ask me, when you study media studies, where do people end up working? And actually, I can't really answer them because there's no one size fit all answer. Uh, Very often people think about the media. You study media studies, you work in the media. And by this, they mean journalist, broadcasting, uh, graphic design, publishing. Yes, it includes all of these things. But that's just a very small portion of where communication skills are applicable. If we go by what I said earlier, if communications and media management is something that's important to all companies, that means that communications and media graduates are needed in all industries. And so when people ask me, which industries are these skills applicable? Where do our graduates find jobs? Well, my answer really is anywhere. It really depends on what your goals are, which industries you want to plant yourself in. Because here's the thing, you can't think of any industry that doesn't require communications and media expertise. From politics to automobiles, to automotive industries, to oil and gas, to environmental companies, to banking, to medicine, to health services, pharmaceuticals, any industry you think of, they need communications and media expertise. And if that's where you want to embed yourself in career-wise, you can. So it comes to the next point I want to talk about. Who is it for? Well, there are really two groups of people that I normally have, but there's certainly more. The first one is media industry professionals who are looking to develop additional skills and further their careers in their field. How I explain this is simple. At a master level, you're not coming to pick up technical skill. If you're a graphic designer, chances are you are better at graphics design than most of your classmates and even me. If you're a journalist, you already know how to do reporting. If you're a marketing person, you already are familiar with a lot of marketing strategies out there because you've done the work and you've honed that skill. Uh, how I describe a master's program is that it allows you to expand your horizons. How do you link your existing skill sets to other industries? How do you link your existing skill sets to new fields of knowledge and broaden your horizons? Sure, you've been engaged in advertising campaigns in the creative work, but how do you move that into a management perspective where it's not so much about creative work, but it's more on people management, corporate management from a media and communications point of view. Uh, it's about expanding your existing knowledge base and, of course, networking with other people with different skill sets. The second group of people would be fresh graduates who want to specialize in media and communications before searching for their first job. Similarly, coming to a master's program, if you're a fresh graduate, this program will allow you to be exposed to people with different kinds of works, thinking through the stuff that you've already studied before in a more dynamic way. Usually, the way the course is structured is that there's a stronger industry focus. A lot of the theoretical issues that you learn are not just theoretical concepts, but they're applied to different case studies and issues for us to think about, okay, uh, this is the real world. How do we see things differently and make the best of it? So what's in the program? I break down our content into three parts. First one is communications theories and trends. Basically, when I say theory, it basically means different ways of looking at things. And we can take any issue, any industry, any case study, and we try to understand it from multiple points of view so that we look beyond the obvious. We're not just looking at what so and so says, but we look at why something was said, when was it said, to whom it was said, why is it important, what effect was intended, what can we learn from it. And when we can figure out all these different perspectives, it actually sharpens the way we communicate in whatever field we're in. The second area is cultural knowledge. I, I feel that to study media and communications is to study culture. Because when we talk about communications, it means interacting on different levels with other people. And when I say culture, I mean people, all right? People from all over the world. They all live differently, they think differently, and the better we understand them, the better we can communicate with them. Understanding our audience begins, no, it leads to better communication. And uh, I encourage all my students to always develop a posture of finding out more about others. So for example, we can have a company in Malaysia who produce a very insensitive piece of advertisement during a festivities, whether it's Hari Raya or Chinese New Year, for example. And very often you find that it's not because people are racist or people are bad or have malice in their hearts, but very often it's because they just don't know well enough about the other people group. Um, and that's something that can be solved. It takes time, but it can be solved. Um, and so that's cultural knowledge. And because our program is quite international, we have students from all around the world. Like currently I have students from Indonesia, Singapore, India, Denmark. I've had students from France before, so it's quite a global quite a global community we have. You can actually end up learning more about different cultures. For those of you who are a little bit more business minded, you can think of it as opening yourself up to new communities that potentially you can reach out to for whatever work you want. Uh, More importantly, it never hurts to uh, diversify what we understand about the human race globally. Now, the third one is possibly my favorite aspect of the three, is that the program teaches you research skills. A big part of MCMS really is the research units, where students have to do their own research projects. And there are two types of research projects that they do. One is sometimes they're taking a break from their work and they want to pursue some of their uh, interest in media and communications, the topics of their choice. That's great. I encourage that because it develops critical thinking. Uh, and there are also those who treat their research projects as stepping stones to getting a good job in the industry. Um, so for example, currently I have a student, she's from the Maldives. She's looking at how different budget hotels in the Maldives utilize social media to cater to different audiences. And she wants to use this information to go back to Maldives and look for jobs and said, hey, I have information, I have data, I've done the work, I've analyzed your content, I know what works, what doesn't work, I bring value to your company. And 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 that's really good. I encourage that kind of work. If you have 1.5 years uninterrupted time, with university resources to do very good research, to really develop an expertise. And that's the key word, expertise. When you're doing a master's, you're really trying to be an expert at something, and that's entirely up to you. What do you want to be an expert at? So use this opportunity to develop research skills, do good research, take what you've done, present it to, and take it to your next step in your career. So some basic information. How long is the program? It's 1.5 years for a full-time student. That's over 3 semesters. If you do it part-time, it's 3 years. And typically, there are 2 subjects, 2 units per semester. One takes place on a weeknight evening, and one takes place on a Saturday morning. So here's an overview of how the different semesters look like. For semester 1, which is the section in blue, you can see it's communications theories and practices, and communications research, which is a subject that introduces you on how to do good research in the field of media and communication studies. So this is where we talk about learning new communications theories and applying them in today's world. Semester 2, which is the section in yellow, the 2 units are global digital media as well as contemporary issues in Asia. These are units that broaden our cultural knowledge, not just in Malaysia, but in Asia in general, and also in a very internet literate world. So, for example, in contemporary issues in Asia, it's a team taught unit where different lecturers, researchers from who have research expertise in different parts of Asia, they teach this unit. And so students not only just get an overview about different issues in Asia, but they get expert insights into what's going on in the Asian continent. For the final semester, there are 3 pathways. The first one is the most common. Students typically pick this. They do an elective called Celebrity, Fashion and Publicity, which is a study into pop culture in modern society, why things become popular, what can we learn from them, is it replicable, what does it say about society. Very popular subject amongst the students. They do this plus a 9,000 word research project dissertation, as I mentioned earlier. For those who very popular amongst the fresh graduates, the second option, those who have no prior working experience, instead of taking Celebrity, Fashion and Publicity, they do an internship unit during the summer B semester. Internships typically last around a month, and after completing that, they just focus on writing a 9,000 word research project as well. The third option, and this is for those who have an eye on doing a PhD in the future, and your grades have been quite good throughout the course, you'll be invited to do an 18,000 word thesis. It becomes an option for you. You can do it, you don't have to do it. But if you're interested in pursuing a higher degree by research, like a PhD, then it's strongly encouraged that you do an 18,000 word research thesis. You don't do all the other units above on this page. You just focus on developing research skills with a longer project. Yeah, so this is by invitation, and only students who've done very well throughout the course and with the approval of the school, then you'll be invited to do this. So that's an overview of what the program is about. I hope you've learned a few things about what MCMS is all about. If you have questions, please feel free to ask, to talk to anyone from the school or write to me. And I really hope to see you soon. Thank you for your time.